I'm Michael, and I'm going to do a tutorial playthrough of Welcome to Reckoning. This is a 54, 55 card game from Wonderspell. So far, their two games have both been one solo player. I believe their focus is solo player, which, I'm always okay with. And, but yeah, this is the second one. They came out with it in this line. It's called Welcome to Reckoning. It's by Mike Heiman. Last game was about spies. This one is about, it's kind of a Western threat management game. Uh, you are in this town of Reckoning that has recently discovered a material called the dust, which it gives you the ability to mess with time, but there is a cost for this dust because strange things start happening in the town and tentacles start appearing, and then the raiders all seem to be possessed by different things, and someone's setting the town on fire, and so you want to get out of dodge, as they say. Bum. So you are trying to raise enough money to catch the last wagon out of town. And so you are trying to beat a poker game in order to win the money you need to ride the last wagon out of town. And so four specific things need to kind of be in place for you to win this game. And I, like I normally do, will kind of explain how it works as I go. And these are the threat cards, which are also going to be your poker cards that you're trying to get a run of four cards while managing the threats, while waiting for the wagon to show up at the warehouse, for you to get enough money to ride that wagon out of town. And meanwhile, there's fires busting out and tentacles attacking the town, and just mayhem while you're just trying to play a nice game of poker to escape. But yeah, I'm gonna get it finished set up here, and I will kind of explain it as I go. First off, the thing to note is you're going to be searching for this wagon card because it kind of is like the midpoint of the game. So this is going to be shuffled into the bottom 15 cards. So I'm going to do that real quick. All right, so that's shuffled up. And now as I finish setup, I'll explain kind of what the cards are. This is your health and your willpower. So my health, because I'm starting on easy, is going to start with 6. My willpower is also 6. This is when you start the game, you have 1 dust already in your um, items in order to use. This is the stack of dust. You kind of leave it over here next to the mine. As you play, you'll be getting more dust. Down here, you're going to leave a space for spent dust. Any dust you use then becomes corruption. And at any point, if your corruption cards are more than your willpower, you lose the game. Same deal as if you go to 0, you also lose the game. Because your health, you're dead. So you kind of go crazy or you die. And like I said, the dust is that measure here. So you want to just make sure that whatever you have in your uh, corruption pile is less than whatever total this is. You can never go higher than your max total from what you start with, and since I'm doing easy, that highest is 6, and that's where I'm going to start. This is a reminder card. I'll explain that as I go. This is my character card. I'm playing as Dr. Jaya. She has a special ability that I can flip this card to discard a rider from the event row or discard a tentacle instead of losing willpower. And that'll make sense as I explain the cards more. So she basically can do some, threat management. Then we have the places you can visit up here in town. There's certain either event cards or options that I can do based on like my powers and my dust, where I can visit different locations in the town in order to get different things. First one is the blacksmith. I can draw 1 card from the bottom of the discard pile. Homestead, you gain 2 of any either willpower, health, or dust, but you may not repeat the same. So it's one of, they have to be 2 different things. The saloon, you gain 2 health. Warehouse, trade a card from your hand with 1 from the discard pile. This is also where you're going to be wanting the wagon to show up. So as you play the game, you really want to make sure the warehouse is always some of the 4 key winning components are the warehouse has to be tentacle free, not on fire. The wagon needs to be there, and you have to visit it. And all those 4 things need to happen in order for you to win the game. So the warehouse is very important. Then you have the church. which is kind of like the saloon, but you get 2 willpower. Then we have the bell tower, where you can discard a tentacle card from a building. As you play, tentacles will start blocking off these locations, and so you would then be able to use that to discard the tentacles there. There's also going to be events, and like I mentioned, other options as well for that. The Asayer, you Assay? I don't actually know what that is. I'll have to look it up. You draw a card, and then we have the mine where you would get 2 dust, or you can move 1 corrupted dust back to the supply. That's how you kind of uh, cleanse your corrupted dust, I guess. And then, yeah, now we can just lay out the rest of the cards. So the way the game works is you start with a hand of 3 cards. I got these 3. What's really important for your cards are the numbers, because as you play the game, you're going to want to be getting 4 of a kind. So I either want 4 2s, 4 9s, or 4 5s, or any of the other numbers in a deck of playing cards. There's no kings or queens or anything like that. It's just strictly the numbers. So I'm looking to try to get a 4 of a kind. There is also going to be points in the game where you can, utilize your cards in the event row, but that's not something I worry about right away. And then we go ahead and lay out the 5 event cards. And your person's going to be underneath the first one. And that is the start of the game. So here, there's a couple things I can do. I could either dive right in and start doing my events that are listed on the bottom of the cards. And you're going to want to be going from left to right, completing those. But as that goes, there's going to be negatives and positives. So you've got to be really careful about what happens. So you have a couple options here. So I have my 3 cards in my hand, right? So some of the things I can do before or after resolving any event card, but not during. So I can't start an event. It has to be right now or after I finish this event and I'm moving on to the next event. So I can consume a dust, no limit, place a consumed dust in your corruption pile, and then I can do one of the following. I can draw a card. So I would draw another card from the deck. Remove a tentacle from a building. As you go, tentacles will start taking over. Or I can remove a tentacle or rider from the event row. So I can take a card out of play. So if there's something I see here I don't like, I can spend a dust, bump it. If I have tentacles, spend a dust, get rid of it, spend a dust, take a card, basically. And then once per round, so that was once per like resolving before or after an event. But once per round, I can flip this card and then I can visit a safe building, so any of these open locations, and resolve one of their effects, or I can put out a fire that maybe have started at one of these locations. And then when I do that, I flip this over. And then this would stay flipped over until I've gone through the entire event, because that is an entire round. And then I would be able to flip this over. Alternately, Jaya has a special power. So I can flip this card to discard a rider from the event row. So similarly, I could flip her, but take a rider out, just a rider. Or discard a tentacle instead, but I would lose a willpower. So I could take out a rider, or I could take out a tentacle, lose a willpower. It's pretty straightforward. So she can kind of do similarly what I would do here, but it's a one-time use and it costs willpower. Alternately for the tentacles, because they mess with her mind. And that is the start of that. So I'm going to look at what I got here and decide how I'm going to move. So my first event is Ambush Riders, and this is has a skull with a flame. So usually with the skull with the flames, those are bad events. I have a lot of bad events here going. Like my first 3 cards, bad events. Then I have a gun card, which usually, or a gun event, which usually is something for me or beneficial to me. I have there's no benefits here. These are all skulls, skull, 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 gun, skull, skull, skull. So that's not looking good. But the first one, Ambush Rider, says place 1 card from the deck to the right of this card. You may not use a character's ability to avoid this card. So that would add to the event row if I don't get rid of that one. And then I can look ahead now, because this is where dust can manipulate, time. And I could spend my 1 dust to possibly do some modifications here. So, Discard one random card from your hand. Lose any combination of health and wisdom equal to your corrupted dust. Lose health or wisdom. Tentacle seizes the blacksmith. So this is a tentacle that would be immediately at the blacksmith. Sudden calm. You may discard a card. If you do, decrease your corruption by 1. So that's pretty good. And then the bottom event is discard the top card of the deck. If it is a wagon, shuffle it back into the deck. Wagon's not going to be till the bottom 15, so I still got time for that. Tentacles seize the warehouse. Fire engulfs the church and bell tower. This one's awful. This one is awful. I feel like I need to get rid of this one for sure. Visit a safe building or put out a fire location card. So I can visit a location. I really want to get more dust ink right away. So I feel like I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to the mine. I'm going to get 2 more dust because I am going to need to do some stuff here. Okay. That was okay because that was before or after any event, and that was before I've done any events. Flip this card, discard a rider from the event row or discard a tentacle. So I can get rid of a rider with her just to get it done with. And this is also round. So who would I want to get rid of? I kind of really want to get rid of this one because it's so bad. So I think I'm going to spend her ability to get rid of this. So that's discarded. And then that's going to make place 1 card from the deck to the right of this card. I'm still going to be bumped back to 1 unless I want to spend some dust because I can still consume dust now before I start. Draw a card, remove a tentacle from a building, or remove a tentacle or rider from the event. So I could spend dust to get rid of these cards. I might not want to do that so quickly. I think this is discard a random card from your hand, lose any combination of blood. Okay, so that's fine. I haven't done that yet. So I feel like I don't want to mess with anything until at least then. I'm going to spend a dust. Get rid of... Ooh, get rid of this one. So now I'm going to go ahead and go. So place 1 card from the deck on the right of this card. You may not use the character's ability to avoid the card. Sabotage. Oof, okay. That means this one's done. And move down. You discard a spade or club from hand. 2 spades or 1 club from hand. Discard this card from the event row. 2 spades or 1 club. They only have 1 spade. Add dust from the supply to the corruption pile for each rider in play. There's no riders. So I'm not going to do sabotage. And then now I have to add dust from the supply to the corruption pile for each rider in play. There's no riders. So that one is actually done as well. Okay. Now we have acidic tentacles. So lose 1 health or a wisdom. I'm going to use a health. Tentacles seize the blacksmith. So this goes up, seize the blacksmith. The blacksmith would have allowed me to just draw 1 card from the bottom of the discard pile, which I don't really feel like is necessary right now. And then we go to sudden calm. So you may discard a card. If you do, decrease your corruption by 1. I'm just going to go ahead and discard a card. We've seen 9 through here already. So I'm going to go ahead and discard. I'm going to discard the 2. Grab the top card from the deck. If it is the wagon, shuffle it back into the deck. Is a 4 chrono tentacles. So that is also done. And that was our first round. I still have 2 cards left. anything I want to do. This is technically after the end of. I could draw a card, remove a tentacle from a building, remove tentacles or riders from the event. I'm gonna wait here. Yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next event. So these get flipped back over. 5 more cards. Right. All right. Now, let's look what we got. So now we have a lot of positive things happening on these cards this time, which is great. So Wraith Riders, you may discard a card to visit a building even if it's seized by tentacles. Lose 2 wisdom. Bamboozled. If the wagon is at the warehouse, shuffle it back into the deck. Wagon is not at the warehouse. Drastic measures. You may select a location card that is not on fire, remove all tentacles from those buildings, and set those buildings on fire. Flesh Riders. Draw the top card of the discard pile. Lose 2 health or 2 wisdom. And then Ghost Riders, you may draw a card. Cool. But then I would have to lose a health or a wisdom. Okay. So a lot of losing health and wisdom, it seems like, for these, but not a lot of like these two are like whatever. Don't need to visit any buildings really with that, but that's going to make me lose some wisdom. So what do I want to get rid of first? I think I'm going to use Jaya to get rid of these Wraith Riders because they're not going to do anything for me. And then and discard a card to visit a safe building or put a fire at a location. So I'm going to. This is going to let me draw a card. This is going to let me draw a card. So I think I just need to. I think I need to draw those cards and then fix some health when I need to. So like I'm going to hold out. So I'm going to keep going. So if the wag is at the warehouse, shuffle it back to the deck. Get rid of that. You may select a location card that is not on fire, remove all tentacles from those buildings, and set those buildings on fire. I do not want to do that because that would set both those buildings on fire. I'm not doing that. So now we come to these riders. So draw the top card of the discard pile. Oh, the discard pile. I got a 10. Now I lose 2 health or 2 wisdom. I'm going to do 2 wisdom. That is done. Now you may draw a card. I draw a card. Got an 8. So right now I have an 8, 10, 9, and 5. That's not doing me any good. I do know that there was a 9 in here I might be able to go for. Yeah, there is a 9 in there. And another 10. Is there certain things that let me trade with a card? So warehouse, trade a card from your hand with one from the discard pile, so I could technically take whatever I needed. So, ooh. Now I lose either a health or a wisdom. I'm going to lose a health. And that is done. So now I'm going to see what I want to do here to mitigate some of the stuff that has happened to me. So discard a card once per round. Flip this card to use its effect. So I can visit a safe building and resolve the effect or put out a fire. So I don't need to put out a fire, but where do I want to visit? I think I'm going to go to church. Kill 2 wisdom. So I'm going to discard. We see. Do we have a 5 in here? Just discard the 5. Ooh, discard the 5 to do that. And then I'm back to 6 with my wisdom. And then now I can spend dust if I would like. Draw a card, remove a tentacle from a building, remove a tentacle rider from the event row. I'm going to gonna wait. Yeah, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. I'm not gonna spend my dust. Okay, so we'll keep going. And yeah, so next round, these get flipped. So I caught something the very first round when I got the two dust. I should have discarded a card because in order to do this flip power, I need to discard a card. I still have my original nine. So that is going on the bottom of the deck as if I discarded it. So luckily, I do know there is another 10 in there. So now my focus is for the tens, I think. Uh, I'm glad I caught that though. And I'll put a note in the video, um, Back to the Future style. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the next round. All right. Okay, we have good stuff happening. Oh, that's not that. So what do we got? We have a dust storm. I would gain two dust, but then discard this card, then randomly rearrange all cards in the event row. Not that big of a deal. You may remove all tentacles from one building or discard one rider card from the event row. There's that rider. Draw this card. Oh. That would have been nice when I was still doing the nines. You may trade a card from your hand with the top card of the discard pile. Mm, it's cool. If I could get it to be something I want, like that 10, and then place a card from your hand at the end of the event row. Yuck. Pulsing Tentacles. Lose health or wisdom, whichever's lower. If tied, you choose. That would be health. Tentacle seize the bell tower. Um, and you may take a diamond from the discard pile. Add one card to the event row. Tentacle seize the Asair. All right. So what do we want to do? She can take a wisdom hit or discard a rider. Take a diamond from the discard pile. What do we have? Is that 10 a diamond? Because if that 10 is the 10 is a diamond. Ooh, we have that speed. And oh wow, okay. Okay, tens it is. So what can I do here? I'm gonna have her use a wisdom to get rid of these pulsing tentacles. Then I'm going to start on this one. So gain two dust. Discard this card, then randomly rearrange all cards. So that's discarded. These get rearranged. Okay. Take a trade. Oh, I needed these on the opposite. I may take a diamond from the discard pile. So I'm going to take that diamond. Ten. I got the diamond 10. I'm going to hold on to these. And then add one card to the event row. Tentacle seize the Asair. Shadow Riders. Gain one dust, lose two wisdom. Let me take seize the Asair. Tentacles have seized. Okay, so before I start this, I'm going to discard one of my tens. I don't even think I need to do that. I could just do the 8. I don't need to be all fancy about it. But discard attack, draw a card. Trade a card from your hand with one in the draw discard pile. So yeah, I'm gonna discard this 10, flip this to visit a safe place. So I'm going to the warehouse, trade a card from your hand with one from the discard pile. I'm going to not take the top 10, but I'm going to take that other 10 I saw, trade it with the 8. Yeah, I want those 10s, but I think I'm going to have to miss them right now. Yes, I am still going to spend a dust to draw a card. Okay, so I have an extra card. So now you may trade a card from your hand with the top card of the discard pile. Trade the top card from your hand with the top card. You do want to do it. So I get that. Place a card from your hand at the end of the event row. You want Tastic Measure. Discard. I'll put this one at the end of the event row. Ooh, actually, I want to keep that one because I don't want that wagon. I'll do the fire tentacles. You may trade a card from your hand. Place a card from your hand. Done that. So that one's discarded. Ah, I wanted some 10 stuff. You may remove all tentacles from one building and discard one rider from the event row. Oh. Or discard one rider. I'm going to remove 10. Regret that. I can still go to the warehouse. Go to the warehouse. Okay, so I'm going to stop that and then draw this card. You may remove all tentacles from whether draw this card. So I got that card. Gain a dust. Lose 2 wisdom. 3. I gotta watch my wisdom now. Then we have drastic measures. You may select a location card that is not on fire. Remove all tentacles from those buildings and set those buildings on fire. I am not doing that. Now that is on the top. Then back to the end. So no buildings are on fire. Also, I need to point out every round, if any buildings are on fire, I would take 1 health at the end of a round. None of my buildings have been on fire, so I haven't been worrying about it. But it is something to think about. So now I need to see where I am. All right. I need to heal up some of this. So I'm going into the next round. Let's flip these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then alternately with checking the fire, you also do need to check to make sure you don't have more than 5 cards. If you ever have more than 5 cards, you have to uh, only have 5 cards. So you have to uh, discard, discard, Michael. You have to discard the cards down to 5. Um, I'm just still tore up about all those 10s. Okay, so let's see where we're at. My wisdom is dangerously low. Discard the last card in the event row. You may visit a building even if it is on fire. If so, put out that fire. Okay. Draw the top card from the discard pile. But that would be whatever this is. That's a bummer. Let me visit a building even if it's on fire. Add 2 cards to the event row. Disgusting. You may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Tentacle sees the church. If you consume dust and discard this card, heal to your starting health. Lose health. Place this card on top of the deck. Oh wow, so you could keep. Oh, because you have to discard this. Otherwise, I'm going to keep taking pain and it's going to go back on top. Boo. You may discard a card. If you do, you may visit two buildings. Ooh, that one's really good. And I would lose two wisdom. Okay, so we're getting to scary point. This one's going to let me visit a place. Okay. Discard the last card in the event row. You may visit a building, even if it's on fire. If so, put out that fire. I'm going to visit the warehouse so I can trade a card from my hand with one from the deck. I'm going to take this 10, switch it with the 9. Now I got the three tens. Discarded. Draw the top card of the discard pile. Add two cards to the event row. One, two. Oh, it's the wagon. If placed in the event row or drawn into your hand, place this card at the warehouse. Then shuffle the event row and discard pile into the deck. Start a new round. Awesome, because this was awful. So, wagon goes to warehouse. Now these all get shuffled up back together. All right, all right. And I just need to find one more 10 and get to the warehouse. This is actually the best thing that could have happened. All right, I'm going to shuffle real quick. Right, now I'm all shuffled up. So now I can start the next round. We'll put these out. Okay, let's see what we got. Ruined tentacles. Tentacle sees the warehouse. Great. Fire engulfs church and bell tower. This is awful. Spectral Riders, you may draw a card, lose 2 health or 2 wisdom. Spectral Mist, you may discard a card. If you do, you may visit 2 buildings, lose 2 wisdom. Mist Riders, draw the top card of the discard pile, add 2 cards to the event row. Yuck. You may visit a building, and fire engulfs the church and bell tower. Tentacle sees the church. I mean, fire can't engulf. These are both fire, but the church gets seized. That seizes tentacle sees the warehouse. We don't want the warehouse seized. So I think I'm gonna have her discard tentacle. Cost of oh gosh. Oh no. Now it's tied. I think it has to be more. And if any time so I need to heal up. There's that. Now I have to go to the church. Flip this and discard a card. Visit a safe building, no tentacles or fires, and resolve its effect. So I'm going to flip this, spend my 6, go to the church, get this back to 4. All right, next, I may draw a card. I'm going to do it. 3 of hearts. Lose 2 health or 2 wisdom. I'm going to lose health. It's discarded. Oof, this is not going good. Spectral Mist, you may discard a card. If you do, visit 2 buildings. Yes, please. So I'm going to discard my Dust Riders I just picked up. I'm going to visit the church again to get. No, I'm going to visit the saloon, get this to 4. I'm going to go ahead and go to the homestead. I'm going to go to the Homestead. Yeah, to gain one of each. Now I lose 2 wisdom, so down to 3. That's discarded. Mist Riders. Draw the top card of the discard pile. I get this 8 back. Add 2 cards to the event row. Flame Riders. Corpse Riders. I already used her, so I needed to have flipped her. Draw the top card from the discard pile. I already did that. Add 2 cards to event row. That's done. The new cards I got are draw the top card from the discard pile. Fire engulfs the mine and the Acer. You may trade a card from your hand with the top card of the discard pile. Play a card from your hand at the end of your row. Place a card from your hand at the end. Oh, I could put this in a... Oh, but then I lose. Oh, bamboozled. I don't want to use that. Oh, this is... I'll just take it as I go. Okay, so I may visit another building. I'm going to go to the church. Get this up to 5. And now fire has engulfed the church and bell towers and tentacles. So they're both on fire. So neither of these are visible. And now tentacles have taken the church. This is not looking good for this town. Do I want to do anything with dust? Draw a card, remove a tentacle from a building, remove a tentacle rider from the event row. Tentacle or rider from the event row. Let's spend this and remove this corpse rider. Now draw the top card of the discard pile. 5. Fire engulfs the mine and the Acer. These are on fire. And then this is done. Yikes. Yikes. These get flipped. Don't 10 in here. I need a 10 in here. And the thing is, that can't be the same time I pick up that card. So I would have to visit twice in a row. So I would burn through those, but I don't, that would work if I had the 10 in here. I do not. And I can only do it once per round. Oof. Okay. So let's lay out my cards, see where we're at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right, this looks like it might be good. Reinforcements. You may remove all tentacles from one building or discard one rider card from the event row, and then I would just draw this card. And I'd be okay because it would still be... Oh! I needed to take a health hit because those are on fire. That was during the upkeep before laying these out. I needed to check fire and to make sure that this wasn't more than my wisdom. Okay, so now I can go. You may remove all tentacles from one building or discard one rider, and then draw this card. Gain 2 dust to discard this card, then randomly arrange all cards in the event row. They get 2 dust. This one's not necessarily that bad. You may discard a card from hand to discard the next card from the event row. Fire engulfs all location cards next to the buildings on fire. So that would be, oh, the Lunar House. You may discard a card to visit a building even if it's seized by tentacles. Lose 2 wisdom. Sudden calm. You may discard a card. If you do, decrease your corruption by 1. Discard the top card of the deck. If it is the wagon, shuffle it back into the deck. I'm going to use her move. Get rid of these riders first and foremost. All tentacles from one building. So I'm going to remove the tentacles from the church. Drew this card. I'm at 6, so I'm going to need to get rid of 1. I'm going to have to do that here. Okay, so gain 2 dust. 1, 2. Discard this card, then randomly rearrange all cards in the row. Discarded. Rearrange, 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 rearrange. Mailing wins. You may discard a card from hand to discard the next card from the event row. I want to do that. Fire engulfs all locations next to the buildings on fire. The warehouse is now on fire. It's discarded. But I'm going to go ahead and discard this 9 in order to put out fire on a location card. I'm putting out this fire. You may discard a card. If you do, decrease your corruption by 1. I'm going to discard this 4. And that decreases my corruption. So now my corruption is 2. I have a ton of dust I can use. Discard the top card of the deck. The wagon. It's not done. I was hoping it was a 10. That is done. All right. Do I want to spend any dust? I do not yet. I'm going to go ahead and flip these. I lost a health because of the fires. This is still good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is my 10. I just need that to get in there. So I can grab it. What I need. It's what I need. You may visit a building even if it is on fire. Add the top card of the discard pile to the event row. Tentacle seize the saloon. That actually wouldn't be that bad because the top card is nothing really bad right now. I'm going to go ahead and let the sudden calm. So you may visit a building even if it's on fire. I'm going to visit the saloon real quick. Get some health. Yeah. And then I'm going to put this at the end of the event row. So then this is discarded. And then we're looking at, you may discard a card if you do draw a card. Tentacle seize the church. You may, and then drastic measures, mine 10. You may select a location card that is not on fire, remove all tentacles from those buildings, and set those buildings on fire. If you consume dust and discard this card, heal to your starting health. Oh, I should have done that. Oh, yeah. So maybe I should have visited. I should have looked at these first. I was getting ahead of myself. Yeah. So this was it 3? So I'm going to say I visited the homestead instead. So this is 6 and 4. So that's where I'm at. If you consume a dust and discard this card, heal to your starting health, lose place. Okay. Gain dust, lose 2 wisdom. Yuck. You may discard a card if you do decrease your corruption by 1. That's that same thing. So I want that 10 to get discarded for sure. Dr. Jaya can go ahead and get rid of these riders for me. They're gone. I'm going to discard a card if you do draw a card. I don't want to discard a card. Tentacle seize the church. So these go up and seize the church. Now we have my drastic measures. You may select a location card that is not on fire. Remove all tentacles from those buildings and set the buildings on fire. I don't have that situation, but this is now discarded. Okay, that has been discarded. So now if I I can go to the trade a card from your hand with one from the discard pile. I can visit the warehouse, flip this card to visit the safe building, no tentacles, because the warehouse is still fine. So I'm going to flip this. Oh, yeah, it's fine. Discard this. And then, oh, shoot. That can't work. Oh, no. How am I going to get that 10? Trade a card from your hand with one from the discard pile. But I would have to spend a card, so I need an extra card. I can't draw any cards right now. Right, I'm just gonna have to keep going and just hopefully pull that out. So if you consume a dust, fill yourself to your starting health. So that's back to 6. Lose health. Okay, and then that's discarded because it's discarded before it would hurt me. Now we have sudden calm again. You may discard a card. If you do, decrease your corruption by 1. I actually don't want to discard a card yet. And then discard the top card of the deck. If it's the wagon, it's not. Blood tentacles, that's totally fine. So then this is now discarded. Flip this back over. I take a health hit. These are still good. Let's do the next 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what I want now is over the next 2 rounds, I want to go to the warehouse, get that 10, go to the warehouse, and leave. But I need that 10 first, and I need another card. Ooh, and these are all terrible. I'm going to use her to get rid of the ambush riders. These are going to let me visit buildings. So let's see what happens. I think I might be able to do this now. Lose health or wisdom, whichever is lower. If tied, you choose. Okay, so I'm going to lose a health. So now I'm down to 4. Tentacle seized the bell tower. So now the bell tower has also been seized by tentacles. Everything is being seized by tentacles. Okay. But the wagon is still safe. The wagon is safe. All right. All right. Here we go. You may visit a building. I'm going to visit the warehouse. Trade a card from your hand with one from the discard pile. I'm going to take that 10 that I needed, switch it out for the 8. So I have my 4 10s. So now I just need to get to the warehouse one more time and I've won the game. So fire engulfs the mine and the assayer. Tentacle sees the homestead. They're already on fire, but then these are going to take the homestead. It is escalating rather quickly, the town. Firestorm. Fire engulfs the blacksmith and the homestead. This is on fire. Fire engulfs the saloon and warehouse. Crap. Saloon and warehouse is on fire. That is discarded. All right. So this is going to just set those back on fire. Put out a fire. Oh, but then I have to spend my cards. I need a card. I'm not going to do it because I need one card. Yeah. I think I'm going to lose because I need one card. But let's try. You may visit a building. I can't visit anything because they're all on fire. But I could flip this and discard, but I don't want to discard. So I'm not going to do it. But I can use. Oh, I can consume a dust at any time to draw a card. I'm going to consume a dust. And it's still well below this to draw a card. Okay, here we go. I'm going to discard that card in order to put out the fire at the warehouse. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. And then now I can make. So first, I may visit any building. I am going to take my 4 of a kind. I'm going to the warehouse and I am escaping on the wagon. So I did it. Wow, that was awesome. I did not expect to win. I thought I was stuck there at the end, but it looks like I just lucked out right at the last minute. Um, but yeah, so that is Welcome to Reckoning. You're trying to do like this part at first I thought was like going to be the impossible part, but once you start playing around with the cards and how they work and how you can play with the discards, it starts to make sense. I actually really do enjoy this so far as threat management goes. These tend to not actually be my favorite type of game, but I've really enjoyed the way this one works. Yeah, the four things were met. The warehouse wasn't on fire. The wagon was there. I had my four of a kind. Yeah, cool. So, done and done. And I didn't even need another card to discard because that let me visit before the fire engulfed it again. So as I rode away, fire engulfed. That's just, it's neat. I like the theme. It really does start to escalate as you're trying to mitigate stuff towards the end. But yeah, so if you liked this, like and subscribe and all that fun stuff and keep it spooky.